Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, 1979. I get an invitation to go to Washington, D.C. for a wine and cheese with the president at the White House and a pep talk on the SALT II Treaty, which Jimmy Carter and his administration was trying to push at that time. And I was I was a known commodity. It was 2 years into the Catholic Worker. I'd already done a blood spilling at the Pentagon, 30 days in jail. I can't believe I got this invitation, but I went with it. I begged the money to fly to Washington in November of '79. I spent a night in Baltimore at Jonah House with Phil Berrigan and talking about how to make the best of this opportunity to speak the truth. And we decided that the best medium would be ashes. And I took a bag of ashes from their fire pit at Jonah House. And in the morning, I took a bus to the White House, had the ashes in a plastic bag in my pants. I had a lumberjack jacket on, and I was sure I would get caught when I gave them my ID, and they would have said, "We know we invited you, but you no longer have security," whatever. I was fully expecting not to get in, but by some miracle, I got into the White House with the ID I had. The ashes were in my pants. I went through the basement of the White House, which is no basement at all. We climbed up these stairs, and I rushed to the West Wing or some kind of room where they were having the conference on the SALT II Treaty. And I was one of the first people there, and I got one of the nearest seats to the president. It was the middle aisle, and the second chair back center. So the people who were sitting in front of me were senators and representatives. And I was the first kind of regular person at this 250 whatever number of talk. And I was so excited. I remember just twitching around, and people were coming in. And in comes Bishop Thomas Gumbleton. He's part of this crowd. People from Iowa, Michigan, and Indiana were at this thing. And I told the guy next to me, "Please save my chair." I got up and I went to the bishop. I introduced myself to him. I said, "Hello, Bishop. I'm Frank Cordero from the Des Moines Catholic Worker. I'm so glad you're here." And I sat right back down. And people were coming in, and I got so nervous. And the bishop was sitting just 3 rows behind me. So I got up one more time. I went back. I leaned over. I touched the bishop on the shoulder, and I whispered, "Bishop Gumbleton, will you pray for me?" The poor man, like, what am I going to say? No? Yes, yes. I went right back to my chair. I was so nervous. And I made sure that my pants were unbuckled so I could get to the ashes. Because my plan was, as soon as the president hit the mic, I would do the ashes thing. So, and at a certain point, the president came into the room through the center aisle. A woman said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the United States." And really, I heard this music. Da 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 da. Now look, there was no music, but in my head, this is what's going on. And everything went slow motion. We're starting to clap. I'm on the inside aisle. I get up. The president's walking right by me. I can't believe it. We sit, he's coming through. I'm holding my pants as he goes through. And everybody's clapping. And then we sit down. And the first guy to talk is a guy named Ziggy Brzezinski, kind of like an international person like Kissinger for Carter. And he started talking about the situation in Iraq, and that the problem with the world today was people weren't following the rules. And his point was that the Iraqis had took over the U.S. Embassy and were holding these folks hostages. And he says, you know, people aren't following the rules. And what SALT II allows us to do with the Russians is set up a context for rules to play by, so things won't get out of hand. And you know, sometimes when a man lies like that in front of you, it's the best thing is to stand up, rip your clothes, and call him a liar. You know, you liar. But of course, no one would understand that. So it was very hard for me to contain myself. But right after that, a woman got up to the mic and she said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States." And finally, the President comes up to the mic. We're all standing. And honestly, I kind of bilocate because I got so scared. And I stepped out of myself. I'm watching myself clap, ready to do this action, and I'm saying to myself, Frank, this is the White House. And I don't know why I fix on it, but that's a chandelier from the White House. What are you doing? You might be wrong. And that's when I just kicked in and said, this is a performance. I have my lines, the President has his. As soon as he started talking, I took the bag out of my pants. Lots of things happened. I raised the bag up. Now, it was supposed to be ashes. But I was holding it in my pants for so long, it got kind of damp. And when I took the ashes out, they came out like lumps of dirt. And I said, these ashes. And the other thing that happened was my voice got real high because I was so nervous. So I said, I dropped these crumbs of dirt down on the ground, and I say, these ashes represent the dead of first strike. Carter is lying. And people started to boo me. It was quite embarrassing. Then the Secret Service guy came right up to me and said, held me my hand like, there, young man, you're all right. Come on, just let's go. And I just say, these ashes represent, and I was just inaudible. People thought I was crazy. And so on the news, all three channels, Walter Cronkite mentioned my name because they had that clip of me doing this thing in front of Jimmy Carter, but you couldn't understand me. People were booing me. And then there's someone from Iowa said to the President, and this is how they understood who I was. She said, Sherry Hutchinson, great lady, American friend, said, I too am from Iowa, and we in the Peace Movement of Iowa want to know how we can support a treaty that allows for first strike nuclear weapons. And the President said to her, ma'am, if you can get a better deal with the Russians, you're more than welcome. But since the press figured that she knew me, they got my name, got the background, and it was the most publicly seen action that I ever was involved in. All three networks. Back then, that would be like, went viral. Yeah.